Hello, my name is Jimmy Vegas. Welcome to this, the third in a series of video tutorials for Unity 5. Okay, so in previous tutorials we've learned how to put in this floor here, this ground. We've also built this little building just here, and we've also put in our first person controller. Okay, so first thing we're going to do in this episode is here in your hierarchy where we have walls, which is our building just here. You'll see all the walls there. I'm going to right click and I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to call it building 001. Next thing I'm going to do is the flooring we have, you'll notice, isn't coupled to this building. So I'm just going to drag and drop just here. So now everything in this building is together. So what we'll need to do is put on a nice simple roof. So to do that, I'm going to take, let's see, I'm going to take wall 003, just there. Hold Control and press D to duplicate, and you'll notice it calls it wall 006 down here. So hold Control again and just pull out this wall. Next thing to do is change the scale. In fact, you can do this one of two ways. See the rotation just here, it's currently set to 90. If we put that to 0, you can change the rotation as well on the Z-axis to 90, and that creates not a perfect roof. Let's change the scale as well. Oops, change the Y to 4. Nope, that's not good enough. Try 6, just to make it quick. So you can create a roof that way by changing the rotation there to 90. And then just altering the size there. So if you want to do it that way, you can quickly zoom in and align it nicely with the rest of the building. Well, I'm going to do it a different way. Okay, so if we go back to the point of where we dragged out the wall just here, and the rotation is still 90 there, what I will do is I will change the scale on the x-axis to, currently it's set as 0.5. And realistically, we need it as long as this wall just here. Let's see. So let's change it here to no. So if let's try and think of a good number which would make it look fairly decent. How about 6? Okay, 6 looks fine. Let's also change our y-axis to 0.5. That looks okay. So now we just have to align it nicely. So hold Control and drag up your wall. Okay, that looks okay. Not perfect, but it will do just for now. So we just need to pull it down ever so slightly. Let's say to about there. So let's have a quick look round the back. So we just need to pull it this way a touch more. About there should do it. Okay, so that building is just a quick thing we've whipped up now. If you want to be a bit more delicate with it, piece it together ever so carefully, you can. I'm not going to waste time doing that, but you can do that if you want to. So now we have our entire building as one object here. So I'm going to quickly duplicate this. So we hold Control, press D, and we have literally duplicated the entire building nice and quickly. I'm going to move it just over here, let's say. And let's rotate it. Let's see if we can rotate it on the y-axis 90 degrees. That looks fine to me. So we can pull it this way. And let's turn ourselves around. And there we go. So we now have two buildings kind of 90-degree angles to each other. Okay, what I'll do now is this one's brick. Let's change this one to a different type of brick. So let's drag and drop this texture into Unity, into our textures folder just down here. And there we go, brick 002. So as always, our texture is available for free on our website if you want to head on over there, have a quick little look, and download if you want to. I mean, if you want different texture, that is entirely up to you. It really is. If you want a different brick texture, have a look on Google. There's plenty of textures there. Okay, so I'm just going to drag the roof up just slightly on both of them, just to align them a little bit better, I think. I know it's a little bit messy. Like I say, trying to get through a tutorial, trying to rush things but trying to teach as well is a bit difficult to get the balance right. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is this new texture, just here, brick 002, we'll just simply drag and drop onto our object here. So and again for that, and again for that, and again for that one. Now let's turn our scene around. Oops, got a bit mad there. If you get lost like that, like I just did, we end up somewhere there, you can always double click. It'll take you back to the object you're looking at. It's nice and simple. And lastly, we just need to zoom in just here and stick our last brick texture there. So now let's press play. Okay, so here's our first brick building. Let's have little wander inside. Oh, that's lovely. That's fantastic. And our second one. Oh, that's lovely as well. It looks like brick. Okay, so now what we'll do, we have two buildings. Let's have a little play with our light. So there are different types of light sources that you can use in Unity, and the one that it does give you by default is directional light. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, rename, and I think I will just call this one Sun 001. Nice and easy. So it's there. Here you can play with different options. Change the intensity. You'll see we don't really want high intensity. It looks a bit wrong. If you want that kind of style, then by all means. No intensity just doesn't really create much light in the scene. So we'll keep that as 1. Now currently the colour is kind of a very light peach colour. So you could change it to, I don't know, blue, and it would give kind of a blue overtone to the scene, as you can see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it pure white. I feel that's a little better. So the shadows by default is set to soft shadows, and if you look just here, if we set it to no shadows, then no shadows at all will be cast within the scene. Hard shadows give a kind of a more sturdy edge, but kind of make it a bit too solid if it were. Shadows aren't particularly like that in real life. So we want to stick with soft shadows just to make it look a little neater. Okay, the other things we don't really need to worry about too much. Let's see. Change the strength of the shadows just there. It's whether you want a hard shadow. You can change it to hard. See, it still gives you this line here, but the I suppose you could call it opacity of the shadow is changed by this slider here. So I'm going to stick with soft shadows, and although it's default to 1, I'm actually going to change it to 0.85. I think that should do just about right. We won't play too much with these settings, but by all means, if you want to have a play around, it's probably a good idea to have a play around and see what you can come up with. So let's keep that as 1. Baking in real time doesn't make too much of a difference, to be honest, as you can see. There, it's kind of, well, if it's baked, it looks different to when it's in real time. I would suggest keeping it as real time. Okay, so let's play with the rotation now. It's currently set to 50 on the x-axis, but if we press 0, you'll notice it kind of gives sort of a night evening kind of theme about it, as you can see there. Now we'll be dealing with that a little bit more in a future tutorial when we deal with day and night kind of affairs. But for now, let's keep that as 50. So the Y, let's set that to 0. And you'll notice that the shadows just here did change very slightly. So let's set 330. And let's set, I don't know, 100. So the shadows are over this way. So it's up to you how you want your light source to be at the moment. I'm just going to drag it up over here and over this way a touch. And I'm going to, let me rotate. Let's see, I don't think it really matters too much on the Z or Z, so I'm going to rotate this. Is that too much? No, I'm not happy with that. So I'm going to put that as 200. And you'll notice it is completely black around here. It's kind of nighttime-ish, you could say. Barely see anything. So let's set this back to, I don't know, how about 90? No, not at all. How about 30? I think 30 is okay. We'll keep 280. Keep the Z as 0. So we have our shadows that way now. So we'll have a quick play and have a look. I think that looks fine. That'll do. Okay, so the next thing we're going to work on this tutorial is a terrain. Now a terrain is it's a game object which is kind of very versatile, and you can do different kind of things with it. So we're going to start a little bit with it today, but it'll be the next tutorial where we really get to play around with it and see what kind of things we can do. So if you go to Game Object, and 3D Object, and Terrain. Let's give it a second to put in. There we go. Now you'll notice the terrain is absolutely huge, Unity. It really is massive. Now, what we created earlier is just a tiny little segment over here now on our terrain. Tiny, tiny little thing. Now, ideally what I would like is this little thing we've created so far to be kind of a bit more in the middle of our terrain rather than at the edge. So first things first, over here on terrain, right click, rename, and let's just call this World 001. Okay, so now we want to kind of move our terrain into a better position. So if we zoom out all the way there, and let's just position it a little better. Let's say about there. I think that should do the trick, just about there. So let's zoom back in just here. Now you'll notice the terrain is very white. There is nothing to it at the moment. And it is below our block that we use, our cube that we used as our ground. So what we'll do is, it is up to you if you want to do it now. I'm actually going to delete our ground. You can keep it in for now if you would like to. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the first building, hold Control, and just drag it down enough so that it's on the terrain. Well, there I think. And the same with our other one. Oops. Let's select all of the building, drag down, and just up a touch more. There we go. That'll do for now. Okay, so if you click on your terrain, and what you'll want to do is you want to go to here and go to Edit Textures. Click it, and then click Add Texture. And over here, you'll notice this little screen pops up. What we'll do for simplicity is this Grass 001 texture, drag and drop over here, drag and drop over here. So both of these now have the grass texture. And press Add. You'll notice the terrain now appears with the grass. So if we press play, we can now walk around on our terrain. There we go. Okay, so now our terrain is acting as our ground that we originally deleted. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is, let's see. It does look a bit funny here. That is presumably to do with our lighting. So if we go here on your kind of cogwheel, and let's have a little play with settings. So I think if we go to material, and let's just click custom for now, just to kind of give it a bit more of a brighter vibe. It just makes it look a little better for now. Okay, so I don't know. Let's start playing with some stuff. So let's go to this first option here on your terrain, and you can raise or lower the terrain as it says here. So the brush, let's take, let's create just a simple little hill for now. So if you want to click, let's say this big one here, and let's change the brush size to 1. You'll notice when you move your mouse over the terrain, you'll notice this little kind of blue square. If you click it, it will raise like that, kind of a big cone. Opacity is set to 50. That's the reason it's come up as like a pointy little cone. So if we undo, and let's set the opacity to full at 100, do it again, you'll notice the cone is, well, pointy thing, as I'll call it, is twice as big. Let's undo that again. If we set the brush size to, let's say, 35, and let's zoom out, keep the opacity at 100, it kind of raises it on like a kind of like a cliff kind of hill weird thing. I don't know what you call it, but it's a bump in the terrain. So let's undo that again. So let's aim to create just a little hill. So let's set the brush size to 1 and the opacity to 7. Let's zoom in over here, and let's just click here. You'll notice it creates a little bump in the terrain. Undo that if you want to. And I'm going to increase the brush size to, let's say 10. Keep the opacity at 7, and I'm going to click again. You'll notice it creates another little bump. So I'm going to create another one just here, 2 clicks. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to change the opacity to, let's say 21, and I'm going to click here and again. It looks a bit rugged. It's not perfect, is it? It does look rugged. So we can smooth that out. So to smooth, you just go to your next terrain just here. Let's keep that one there. I think, sorry, it's the third one, not the second one. My apologies. So if you click the third icon here and we smooth the height, you can hold the left mouse button and just move around, and it will smooth everything you've just created. So now you can see it's kind of a nice smooth little bump in the ground, or a little hill. So that also works when you try and create, let's say, a mountain. So if we go over here, and let's say, I don't know, set the brush size to 73 will do, and the opacity to 88. If you do that over here, decrease the brush size a little, and again, brush size again, build up a little more, and let's put it slightly to one side now, and there. Zoom out a touch more, and let's decrease our brush size to 15, and let's do a couple of little bumps here. So you can see kind of creating what appears to be a grass mountain at the moment. So if we go to our smooth tool just here, let's increase our brush size to about there. I'm going to decrease the opacity to about 50, and I'm going to smooth everything just here. So now let's take a look around the other side. And oops, I clicked off the terrain tool. So let's do that again, just on this side. And now we have a kind of a mountain sort of just appearing over there. Okay, so let's head a bit closer to our little houses again. Zoom in a bit more. There we go. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do now is delete this main camera. As we already have a camera embedded within our first-person controller, we don't actually need this main camera here. So we can get rid of that. Okay, so back onto our terrain. Let's see. What can we quickly do? So let's go here. And I don't know, let's choose this. Opacity, let's put 30. Brush size, let's put as 37. Okay, so let's, I don't know, I'm trying to think what we can actually do to make it look quite nice. Okay, so let's put another little bump here. And let's kind of build up this area just here. Like so. And now let's smooth that area out nicely. Okay, so now let's press play. So if we look around, we can see we are starting to kind of sculpt our world a little better. So we've got the hills and we've got this kind of mountain appearing in the background. We can look down on our little village. Okay, so we're starting to get into the basics of terrains, kind of play around with it. I'm actually going to save that right there, just in case. So yeah, we're getting into terrains now, having a play around. I think next episode we'll look at maybe a bit of water, trees, a bit of shrubbery. We'll look at painting different things on our terrain. I think next episode will be mainly about the terrain that we've built and different things we can do with it. So yeah, for this third episode, that's about it. We'll leave it there for now. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully you've learned some more stuff to build your game. And I hope to see you in the next tutorial.